Yo, 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 what's up, my GSMC Wrestling Laureate fans? It's your boy E here on the mic from the GSMC Sports Network. Let's go ahead and reflect on what we talked about real quick. We talked about our Thursday Night Wrestling review in terms of Ring of Honor, Impact Wrestling Under Siege happening tonight. We also have our WWE SmackDown preview, and we talked about WWE Backlash predictions. But, trying to get into this real quick, we're going to talk about our not WWE, our wrestling news roundup real quick. Um, so let's get around, jump around and into it. First and foremost, we're going to talk about The Rock. The Rock has recently been scrutinized all over social media, all over Twitter. You have those Twitter rats and stuff like that. Basically saying after a couple of flop movies that he produced, after he starred in, he kind of used the WWE to kind of compensate for his failures in Hollywood. And to be honest, I don't really kind of see that because I feel like every rock movie I've ever seen is like a huge banger. Should be like, it's respected. It's pretty awesome. Um, I think he has respect for the WWE, and a lot of what a lot of people don't really take in consideration is that the Rock's love for the business of wrestling. Obviously this is where he kind of started out. This is where his kind of his destiny kind of landed him. If there was no The Rock the wrestler, there would be no Dwayne The Rock actor. So honestly, I don't see why he would ever crap on someone like WWE or kind of be like, oh, I need to go back to this to kind of get my numbers up and stuff like that. Because ultimately, he has a passion for the business, and if you didn't see that in the promos he had with Cody Rhodes heading toward WrestleMania night 1 and night 2, that's just the problem you have. Like, what I mean? I think The Rock ultimately, he's genuine. He's a businessman. He's a businessman. He's a freaking businessman. So, honestly, I don't think he would ever use WWE like that. And WWE is his home. WWE's home. The best thing that I could probably compare this to is like if you're a person like kind of, imagine you're a teenager or someone who recently graduated from high school and or college, and then you finally move out of your parents' house. You accomplish so many things, but then you hit hardships. You hit hardships and you're like, oh, okay, like sometimes I got to go down to, recuperate, and then you go back to your parents' house for like a couple months. That doesn't necessarily mean that you're taking advantage of your parents. Like, thus, The Rock isn't coming down to WWE taking advantage of WWE. It's more or less just like, you know, he is a chairman in the TKO board. So I feel like it's quite the opposite. As soon as Vince McMahon left the WWE, he kind of left it in shambles. And the moment Paul Levesque took over in The Rock, I felt like was kind of like in like the passenger seat, so to speak. I feel like The Rock really did this because he saw what he loved in WWE/WWF kind of go down to this boring entity. Even I was kind of guilty of like sometimes I would skip maybe like 2 weeks and not watch wrestling because I'm like, yeah, it's so predictable. Let's just watch the pay-per-views. So, but recently I've been hooked. I've been hooked on every single episode of SmackDown and Raw and NXT. It's been captivating. 110% captivated, and you can't help but to think that The Rock is definitely kind of behind that. He has Hollywood experience, obviously, like, he's been during the Attitude Era, so this guy knows how to captivate an audience and what keeps people hooked. Next, we have Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins, although he is injured, he hurt his meniscus. He's going to be out for a couple of months. He was drafted to WWE Raw, Divisionary. He signed a major deal in WWE. So Seth Rollins is expected to be back in WWE live, large, and in charge every Monday Night Rollins. So, it's cool. I love seeing Seth Rollins. He's a great wrestler. So definitely love to see and hear this news come out. WWE have to take care of their top superstar. So, hey, let's do it. Kenny Omega recently on the AEW Dynamite show got attacked by the Elite, ultimately being kind of like taken out and being like hospitalized and stuff like that. It was purposely done, major kayfabe. his injury. He can't yet perform in ring. This guy he hasn't even had a surgery yet to fix whatever's wrong with him. So I feel like whatever happened, because I kind of had that mentality on AEW when I heard that Kenny Omega was coming back. I was like, okay, cool. He's gonna build a group of guys. He's gonna bring a stable to bring down the elite. Katsuchika Okada, the EVPs, and also Jack Perry. But I think this was kind of the opposite. This was kind of like a way for him to get taken out and get injured and stuff like that, just so he can do his surgery and kind of be out for, honestly, probably like, I would say probably like 6 months tops. So what does that say about AEW? So for the next 6 months, are we supposed to be excited to see this, this elite ran, production, in terms of Dynamite, Collision, and Rampage? Mm, I feel like they got to do something. I feel like Tony Khan, they got to try to figure something out because what's happening right now between the EVPs, I don't think it's good enough. I don't think it's good enough to hold an audience. I don't think it's good enough for the wrestling promotion. And like I said, I want to see AEW succeed because, with when two wrestling promotions are kind of going at it, I feel like it's better for the audience in terms. But should be interesting. All in all, Kenny Omega is not going to fight anytime soon. So, heartbreaking, but that's the thing. Next, we're going to talk about Jakob Fatu. I kind of hit on this, kind of going, talking about Backlash, kind of talking about our WWE SmackDown preview, that he was seen at WWE headquarters. He was also seen in France in WWE, which I feel like is going to be the ultimate reason why Randy Orton and Kevin Owens will not beat Tamatanga and Solo Sikoa, the quote unquote new young bloodline. Ultimately, I feel like he's going to make his debut. He's going to make his presence known, and he's going to be kind of Solo Sikoa's, protege. He's going to be kind of like his new enforcer, although his MFT Tunga kind of like owns that fact right now. But ultimately, what's going to happen is that these three are going to come together. And it's I'm just honestly, and it's kind of crazy to say because this guy's like the advocate for Roman Reigns, but I'm excited to see what Paul Heyman thinks about all this. Absolutely, 110%. I want to see what Paul Heyman thinks of all this. I want to see what happens to him in the future. What I kind of would like to see him do in the future, and I know this might be kind of overstepping my boundaries in terms of being your GSMC Wrestling Laureate podcaster, but honestly, I kind of want to see Paul Heyman kind of get his ass kicked. I want to see him get his ass kicked, and I'm not rooting for that. I'm not rooting for that. I'm rooting for the next step. I want to see him like kind of be like a little disgruntled and be like, I've been kicked out of the bloodline. I need a way to get back in. Of course, that leaves windows open for either The Rock or Roman Reigns to come back. But to be honest, I would kind of like to see Paul Heyman take a step away from the bloodline for a little bit, especially with Roman Reigns being out, The Rock, trying to, conquer Hollywood and stuff like that. Um, what I would like to see, and I know this might be a huge step and a huge, like, boundary changer, but Paul Heyman has never, never, ever, ever been the advocate for a WWE women's wrestler. He's never been that. I think it'd be cool to kind of see him, like, kind of think the next step, kind of help a WWE Women's Champion. Either like I don't think he would do it with the new NXT stars like Valkyrie. Um, I don't think he would. You know, but I don't know. I would love to see him work with some of the women's wrestlers, because like I said before, you haven't really seen him in the corner, the advocate for, because I feel like the moment you put Paul Heyman with any wrestler, it automatically becomes something genuine, something audience members pay attention to, and just something that just blows up the wrestling career of whoever's, partakes, as the main superstar. So honestly, I know that's a huge jump. Doubt that'll ever happen. But if that ever happens, I'm gonna put a smile on my face and I'm like, dude, that's pretty effing cool, man. That's awesome. Next, we have WWE NXT releasing superstars like Valentino Feliz, Daryl Mason, Vlad Palenko, and many, many more. And of course, the name that's been probably the most controversial has been Drew Gulak. Kind of sucks to kind of see the way he kind of went out. I'm not necessarily sure that they did this to kind of protect themselves from Ronda Rousey, but ultimately, I feel like he was like a main person of the No Quarter Catch crew, and he was good in WWE. That's the reason why WWE kept him around for so long. You saw people from the Two Alive roster kind of just fall short. You saw Mustafa Ali go to independent wrestling. You saw Cedric Alexander join the Hurt, not the Hurt Locker, Bobby Lashley's crew, ultimately kind of getting his butt kicked. And then you saw T.J. Perkins kind of fall off the cliff a little bit in terms of 205 Live. Neville, the champions of the cruiserweights. He's in AEW now, but they kept Drew Gulak for a reason. I felt like because I don't know, he had something. And just kind of sad to kind of see someone like Gulak leave. I'm not trying to condone any actions that he's ever did toward Ronda. I know from his standpoint, he says that he's completely innocent, and Ronda Rousey kind of claims him as kind of like a pervert or something like that. And but like I said, not trying to take sides, not trying to take sides, but I'm gonna miss Drew Gulak. Gonna miss Drew Gulak definitely. So NXT stars, I think there was 10 total that got let go, but ultimately yeah. So, lastly, we're going to talk about Brian Danielson. Recently, he had an injury at AEW Dynasty where he hurt his neck. He felt like he couldn't move. He felt like he was paralyzed for a solid 5 minutes, but it was ultimately, kayfabe. He said during the match, after the match, Will Ospreay hit that, that dragon driver or something like that, which he, retired the move. But ultimately, he said that Daniel Bryan said that it felt like kind of like a stinger, and quote unquote, he's fine. He's fine. He's I don't want to say 100%, but he's probably 85. But he said he's going to take a step away from wrestling for a little bit. So definitely he's going to come back 100% in a couple of months for AEW because honestly, at this point, AEW needs all this talent. He needs all this talent. When Brian Danielson, the moment he probably went down, a lot of people were like, ah, great. Great, we lost MJF and Sting retired, and freaking CM Punk went to WWE. Um, this is this is something that AEW needs. I would love to see Brian Danielson continue to be in the Dragon on AEW, Ring of Honor. So I'm happy. I'm happy that he's gonna come back. I'm happy that he's not hurt. Obviously, you never ever want to be like, oh, the wrestler and stuff like that. But these wrestlers go through legitimate injuries, like we kind of talked about on our last podcast on Thursday, how some of these wrestling careers ended in an instant, in a blink of an eye. Blink of an eye, a botched move, someone landed wrong on their neck, someone landed wrong like Sid Vicious on the back of his leg, snapping his leg, tearing mostly his fibula and his MCL, ACL, just absolutely tearing it to shreds. Absolute craziness. So when these superstars fight, this is kind of something that people are like, you know what? I don't really pay too much attention to how this really, what wrestling is all about. All I know is these guys are running around in tights, tidy whities or something like that. Dude, it's just there's more than that. There's absolutely more than that. Wrestlers, I feel like should get more respect than they actually do. But I feel like in this generation, in this era, the Paul Levesque era, it's going to open possibilities for maybe pop culture to get involved, maybe for new fans to be sprouted and stuff like that. Especially with NXT being so much prominent on their WWE Women's division, which is awesome, which is cool. And I feel like Ava leading the charge as your general manager is probably the best way you can do it. You have a women's general manager making history, taking her division, the women's division in NXT, kind of propelling it to the next level. Awesome. Absolutely awesome. And I've been saying this for the longest time that the backbone of NXT, we love Trick Williams, we loved Ilya Dragunov, but ultimately it's the women's division. It's the women's division that has been so prominent, so dominating, especially in terms of the ratings in NXT. So, definitely interested to see where they, keep going with that. Hoping for the best. Women's wrestlers absolutely rock. Keep doing what you're doing. But Guys, looks like we're out of time here. Kind of have ran a little bit of overtime. But thank you for tuning in to the GSMC Wrestling Laureate Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. Your support means a lot to us, so please remember to Superman punch that like and subscribe button to the show. Leave a positive review here at the GSMC Sports Network. We love peace, love, and positivity all the way, baby. All the way. So follow us on Facebook, Twitter/X, TikTok, and Instagram for more content and updates. Honestly, like I said, if I haven't made you a wrestling fan by now, we have a bunch of other sports shows. We have a bunch of other podcasts and stuff like that. So, catch football, catch baseball, catch basketball. We have hockey newly, also golf. We also have our, Hoops and Heels show. So, guys, it's growing. Be a part of our podcasting bloodline. 1,010%. You're not going to regret, tuning into one of our shows because, unlike all these other shows, you kind of have to pay subscriptions for in terms of like, ESPN, Fox. Like we're free. We're absolutely 110% free. So check us out. Check how, we a lot of these takes that these podcasters are doing. Um, are some of the smartest takes I've ever watched. And I am a fan of like watching Colin Cowherd, a fan of watching First Take. I'm a fan of watching Undisputed and stuff like that. And some of these stuff that these podcasters that we have at the GSMC Sports Network, it's rejuvenating. It's something that definitely, helps the company. It draws fans' attentions. It's just something that I would never ever want my Wrestling Laureate podcasters, my fans, to ever miss out on. So if you're a sports fan of things other than, GSMC Wrestling Laureate podcast, so make sure you dabble your feet, kind of take a dip in the pool of the GSMC Sports Network. So, that's it for me. Thank you once again for tuning into my show. And hey, have a phenomenal weekend. Have a great day. Sleep well. Hope you guys have a fun, productive weekend. And love you guys.